Press record now. Recording is now in progress, Sam. So I'm going to dive into the introduction. And those who are here a little bit early, just to watch if you're watching the video, Sam's a friend of mine. We've been friends in Cairns, I think back in 2014 when we were writing our books together. So I was going to drag your books down so I could wave them about, show them to everybody, but you all mentioned it anyway. So you've got them there?
Something I prepared a little earlier.
Oh, cool. Okay, so good. We'll use that. Okay, I'm going to do my introduction. Sam, here we go. Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. With me today is another non-podiatrist who is also a legend. He's a friend of mine in Cairns. He's the author of 2 books. He has a business called Business Maximiser Coaching. He actually coaches people in the trade industry, tradies. But I went along to one of Sam's workshops a couple of months ago, and I actually wrote a blog article about the importance of learning stuff outside of your profession. And I sat down with Sam for a couple of hours and I just went, oh, geez, I've picked up so much stuff today that I can apply back to podiatry. And I'm also going to one of his workshops in a couple of weeks' time, which I'm looking forward to, which is a whole day one. So Sam, welcome to the Podiatry Legends podcast. And I know straight away, you're going to blow people away. How you doing?
Oh, no pressure. Yeah, good to be here. I think this is our second one, right? So it was about 2 years ago when we did our last interview.
Was it on Podiatry Legends?
Oh, maybe it wasn't.
No, it was on It's No Secret Dr. T. You were on It's No Secret Dr. T twice. You're on the 2 times with both your books. So mentioning your books, what are the titles of both your books?
So the first book I wrote, which is the one we wrote at the same time, you wrote your book, It's No Secret There's Money in Podiatry.
Yes.
And I was writing Getting Stuff Done. And then about a year and a half later, wrote a second book, which was Small Business, Big Exit. I wrote that with a good friend and partner in that business, Stuart Goodfellow. And we had that whole podcast on that where we spoke about, how you can make more money selling your business than running it.
Yeah, and some people, I think their businesses, they don't think about. I remember, I think it was Kerry Packer who said that when you set up a business, as you're setting it up, you should know your exit strategy. So you don't just set it up to set up a business. You set it up with the intention that one day you're going to sell this business and you keep adding value to the business. So when it's time to sell, it is really valuable.
And funny you say that, Tyson. That's the challenge we came up with. A lot of people came to us and said, I want to sell my business now. And it's the first time they thought about selling their business. They actually hadn't started to prepare their business for sale. So that was an interesting space. We still work in that space, but your point is so true, is to exit your business like you've done successfully, is you've got to have a long-term plan. It's not something you can decide tomorrow. And part of the value of your business, which I think we're going to be talking more about today, is having a really, really good team around you, having good staff, because that's something that a potential buyer of your business will seriously consider.
Yeah, and some people think when they're selling the business, they're really all they're doing is selling a job. They own a business that they work in. They might have 1 or 2 employees there and receptionist, support staff, but really they're just selling a job. The next person who's buying it is going to work in there full time.
Yeah,
and it's a transition of ownership. It's not really the transition of a business that can actually run without them. Yep,
I'd agree with that. Which then goes to their point, right? Is like, what is the purpose of a business? And a business I look at a business as purely, it's a vehicle to help you achieve your personal goals. So I think you speak about it as well. If you're setting up a business, one of the first things you do is go, where do I want to live and what do I want to do?
Yeah.
And then you build it according to that, but it's a vehicle. It's a vehicle. And just like you can sell a car, you can't sell a rust bucket for much money, but a really souped up, well-running car that's been looked after, maintained, is going to be more saleable.
Yeah. And an old car that has been looked after and has become rare will sell for even more. So you can have something that's old, but if you've really looked after it and you've looked after it like a baby and you've had it for 50, it's a 50-year-old car, it can sell for a lot of money.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So today we're going to talk about brand as an employer, and we spoke about this just before pressing record, that as a business, sometimes we don't have a problem marketing our business to our potential patients, but we struggle when it comes to marketing our business to our potential team members, employees. So that's what we're going to discuss, because you're an expert in this.
Well, I've done a bit of work on this, and again, there is a war on talent, trying to find talent, trying to find good people. There's definitely more work available than there are good people available to do it. So there's been a flip in power, so to speak, whereas, you go back to the 80s, 90s, you'd advertise a position, you'd have a surplus of people applying, and you'd be sitting there going, well, let's see who we're going to choose. That's flipped around now, and a lot of times there are more jobs available than there are applicants, and so it's around really effectively marketing ourselves as an employer of choice so that we can attract people.
This has come up a lot lately. A lot of podiatrists I've spoken to are all saying they cannot find podiatrists, they cannot find team members to fill important roles, and they are all struggling.
Yeah. Struggling to get new staff. There's an element of fear as well, in the sense that what happens if somebody leaves? Now we are already stressed, we're working under pressure. If somebody leaves, so people feel very vulnerable. So we've got a friend in common who's a super smart person as well. Actually, we've got a couple of smart friends. We better say.
I was about to say, we've only got just one, have we? Are you going to say their name so the rest of them will go, oh, thanks for that. I got left out. So we have a lot of smart friends together. Who's the one you're talking about?
Andrea Tunjic.
Oh, yes.
So Andrea and I actually, when I said, hey, Andrea, I'm going to be doing this workshop around creating your brand as an employer. And she actually worked with me. I actually engaged her services to help me refine it. And it was her initial idea. She said, hey, why don't we come up with this concept of, like, when you're flying in an airplane, we've got first class, business class, premium, economy, and freight.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we came up with 11 sort of key areas that enables you as an employer to score yourself in those 11 areas. Because, Tyson, what do people always say when they say they can't get staff? What's the number one thing they believe they have to do?
Oh, they have to pay them more money.
Pay them more money. And it is definitely one of those 11 things, but it's not the only thing.
Oh, definitely not. Like when I sold my business, the last one, the people that bought it, one of the things they said to me was, we can't believe how you've kept the same staff for so many years, yet compared to what we pay some people, it wasn't far less. They said it's less than what we would pay. So as soon as they took over my business, they gave everyone a $10,000 pay rise, which you would think, wow, the people that work for me would be going, we love these people. 12 months later, the 3 podiatrists that were working there were no longer working there. They all were working for another podiatry business in the same area who may not be paying them as much, but what the people that took my business over thought, by paying people more money, that's how I'm going to keep people. And there was so much more to my business than just putting money in the bank account.
Man, you had a cool business. I mean, I remember coming in there and the way you had it set up, it was fun. You had cartoons on the wall. You had the meeting room around the back. You had a really, really good culture.
Margaritaville.
What's that?
We had Margaritaville as our staff room.
Margaritaville. But again, sometimes when we pay people more, they're happy for just a short period of time. It's like it's a sugar hit.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take long for their expenses to creep up accordingly, or for that to be forgotten. And we'll talk about the other factors, and I might give you a couple of examples of what we would say would be first class, business class, premium, economy, and freight. But people turn around and go, they need to be earning a certain amount of money. Can we talk about that quickly now?
Yeah, that's fine.
So, a lot of people go, oh, this is ridiculous. The award rate is, let's say, $25 an hour. And I go, yeah, the award rate, right? This is how many people would be willing to pay somebody $25 an hour. This is how many people, like way less people, are willing to work for that. So the market rate might be $30 an hour. That's where supply equals demand. But that means you're just getting average.
Yeah.
Right? Above market rate, that's where you start to attract talent. So there's that one side of the equation. The other side of the equation as well is once people are earning a certain amount of money, and I don't always agree with the numbers because like they say it's like $60,000, but I think it's got to be more than that.
Was that the average income, 60,000?
Yeah, once somebody's earning over 60,000, that money as a motivator actually declines substantially. I don't know. I think it's got to be higher than that when I see what people are being paid and how much it costs to live.
Maybe it's 60,000 American.
60,000 American in America? Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. But once you get to a certain point of earning, let's just say it's 80,000, whatever, then the motivation factor of money becomes less because you're not worrying about whether you're going to be able to pay rent, pay food, send the kids to school and those sort of things.
So depending on your lifestyle, if you have a mortgage, kids going to school, and there's certain factors. If you know you've got a certain amount of money, whether it's 80,000, could be 100,000. Yeah. If you know you have that coming in every week without fail, you're paying all your bills and you got a bit left over for holidays. Say pre-COVID, you could take holidays and do that sort of thing overseas.
You can still take holidays. You've got to get people to take holidays around wherever they are, right?
Yeah. So once that's all taken care of, and you still got a little bit extra to buy the extra, the good rum or the good whiskey, or just all those little things, then going from 100 to 120 probably doesn't make that much different. But going from 100 grand and actually getting an extra week's holiday or some other little perks that go on in the office, maybe a car provided, or just those type of things, you can see where that actually makes a job more appealing. Yeah,
I agree 100%. Cool. So where do you want to go from here? Should we talk about the different elements?
Yes. Yeah. So because when we were talking earlier, we were talking about the brand of an employer, and you said there's 3 parts like a triangle. So
okay. Yep. So 3 parts of that. If we look at people normally think about value and how we portray value again to our patients or to our clients, but we've really got to be able to portray that to our existing staff because retention is super important, particularly if you consider how much it costs you not only to initially employ them, but then to train them and get them up to speed to your way of doing things, right? So retain and then attract talent, become an employer of choice. So I think there's 3 things. If you think about it like a triangle, on the left-hand side is around your promise. What is your, what is the promise? What is the package? What are you offering? Okay. The second side of the triangle, the right-hand side of the triangle, is how do you articulate that? Because a lot of people are not good at articulating the value that they offer. And this survey that we're going to go through actually helps people do it. So we had an accountant who was running ads and not getting any responses. Once he'd gone through the survey, he went, oh my gosh, I do all of these extra things, but I wasn't telling anybody about it. I just assumed that they would know. And then the bottom of the triangle is belief. Because if you're not congruent and you do not believe in what you're doing, right, that comes through, it destroys everything. So you've really got to believe it. And sometimes that's a bit more around awareness where you need to have a look in the mirror and go, why would somebody want to work for me? And it's
that's what we said before when I said, I'm sure some people, when they're writing their employment offer, as they're writing everything, their nose is growing at the same time because they don't believe anything they're writing down. And they know the people that work for them don't believe anything they're writing down. Yeah. So, we've got this awesome job and great environment and come and work with our loving team, and everybody there hates each other. No, nobody gets on. Everyone thinks the boss is a tool.
Yeah.
And so they know when they're writing it, it's all lies. And I think it comes through when that happens.
Well, if you go and have a look under job ads, right, just go under Seek or your local newspaper, and there are what I call empty words: innovative, friendly, other one, family. Like,
Yeah.
let me tell you, I don't want to work in a family. I want to work in a family-friendly environment, but I do not want to work in a family environment because I want to work in a team environment. Because family, you will tolerate, because they say blood is thicker than water most times, you'll tolerate poor performance, but a team won't tolerate poor performance.
Yeah.
We get rid of them. So, you know, a family-friendly environment means one thing. A family environment is a family business. Oh man, I would rather go, it's a high-performance team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
So, okay, so the three things around value is your promise, how you articulate it, and then the foundation of that triangle is really, do you believe it? And a real simple exercise just to get started is going like, Tyson, why would I work for you? You know, why would somebody work for me? And what can I offer is a really good way of starting it. And it might be a bit of some hard truths going, you know what? I'm a bit of an asshole. Okay, well.
Have you spoken to some of my past staff?
But understanding that,
yeah.
well, you know, one of the things is you can turn around and go, I'm a very, very direct person. Now, that's going to appeal to some people, but it's not going to appeal to others. Now, you can't turn around and say, well, I'm not a direct person, but we need to be aware of that so that we attract those right people. So it even starts, good recruitment starts in writing an authentic ad that appeals to your ideal candidate. So going back a couple of steps, you've got to go, who's our ideal candidate? And the most important thing there is, are they a good fit, right?
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. We ran an ad. This is going back years ago when I had my team building and training business. We ran an ad, and the guy that got the job was, quick story. You can maybe edit this out. Quick story, right?
Oh, it depends what you say, whether I'm going to put it down. I might just keep it for my private collection.
So in South Africa, this is going back in the 90s, when you ran an advert, you could not put your office telephone number or fax number or email, because everything would just get jammed up. There would be so many applicants, right?
Yeah.
Particularly if you're doing like an event coordinator, for example. So we used to get a mobile phone number, and we'd place an ad, and the ad would be very, you know, looking for an event coordinator, must be well-spoken, enjoy the outdoors, be good with people, have their own transport, and available to work on weekends. If you're interested, please call this number. They'd call the number and say, hey, thanks for calling in connection with the event coordinator. And we'd give them a little bit of a brief about it. And then we'd say, so if you're still interested in the position, please confirm that you do have your own transport, why you'd like to apply for the position, and what is the square root of 81? Click. Right? So this is different days where you'd have hundreds of people applying.
Yeah. So this would all be on an answering machine.
Yeah, I was on an answering machine. So then you just listen to the message and you just go delete. They didn't know the company. You just go delete, 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 delete. Eventually we get to this one. The guy goes, hi, my name's Kevin. Yes, I've got my own car. I saw that in the advert. I love working with people. And he goes, the square root of 81. Man, I have no idea. But when you call me, I'll let you know. So I thought, I've got to phone this guy, right? So
yeah.
I phone him. And as soon as he hears my voice, because it was me that left the message, he goes, it's 9. It's 9. Do I get the job? I said, you don't get the job, but you get the interview. As soon as he got out of his car and he walked towards us, I went, this is the right guy. Like, we could just see he was going to be a good fit with our business. Like, sure, we wanted to check he had the skills and the expertise.
Yeah.
But it's often the type of person that's going to fit into your organization. So understanding that and understanding you as a boss, what kind of person you are, because I'm very direct, which means for some people, I'm not a great employer because I might be a bit too direct and might unintentionally offend them.
Yeah, it's true.
So let's just not start that journey together because it's not going to end well.
Well, I know in my some of the ads that we would run, and I would mention something along the lines that you can probably find a job where you will get paid more money than working with me, but you won't find a job where you will learn as much as what you will working with me. So I wanted people to join my team who wanted to be better at the end of the experience. So when they came and worked with me for 12 months or 2 years, they were going to leave a better podiatrist for the experience. Yes, you could get paid 20 grand more, but if you're just chasing money, I'm not the job for you. Correct. If you're chasing an experience, then we were the employer. Never had a problem finding people.
Yeah. Funny, that's point 8. I was just looking down here. That's point 8. Coaching and mentoring. All right. Okay, so let's do this, right? So the first one we look at is remuneration. And the reason why we do that is because it's top of people's mind. If I said that was point 11, I would have lost you, right? So remuneration is important. And what we do, I won't read through all the options, but actually on this one I will, but I won't do it for all of them because it'll
that's all right.
But, so the freight option is I pay to the award or less if I can. In other words, you're an absolute tight ass and playing below the line, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Economy, I follow the rules and pay to the award. That's it, like it or lump it. Premium, I pay the award and will spend a bit more if I think it's worth it to my business. So a little bit above award.
Yeah.
Whatever. Business class, I have market rate pay scales in place, and it is clear what people must do to earn more. So we talk about pay scales. Often how much we pay our staff, if we don't actually have a structure in place, it's very subjective, very hard for people to work out how they can earn more. But when you've actually got pay scales in place, hey, when you can do this, you're level 1, you get paid this. When you can do these additional 5 things, you get this. Boom, boom, boom. So
that makes sense.
And what you do then is you create a career path so people stay with you because they know how to earn more. Because otherwise, what's their only way of earning more? To go and get another job offer and then auction themselves off to you.
Yeah, and I remember you saying that once too, that if somebody is not happy and they go and look for another job and they find another job that might be offering them $10,000 more because they can't see a career path with you, when you find out about it and say, oh, look, I'll match their offer, by then they've already got the shits with you. Correct. It doesn't matter what you say. They're like, no, well, if you could have paid me 10 grand more, why didn't you pay me 10 grand more beforehand? But like you said, but it's not just about the money. It's about the recognition for the effort they're going to put in and maybe the extra duties. Give them responsibility. Yeah. I had a receptionist once who came to me and said, I was talking to my friends. Oh, she was the receptionist. I was talking to one of my friends and she said, I could get paid so much more working in so many other places. And I went, oh, okay, I accept your resignation. And I walked out. And I got home that day and said my wife, oh, yeah, such and such quit. She went, serious? I'm surprised. I said, yep. Anyway, next day, my wife comes home from work. She said, can we go over this conversation again? How I quit?
She's smart.
And I went, oh, what do you mean? She went, well, take me through the conversation that I had with her. I said, we were chatting away. And she said, I was told that I could get paid so much more money in so many other places. And I said, oh, okay, well, I accept your resignation. And I walked out. She went, so she didn't actually say that she resigned. And I went, yeah, but I don't want to hold her back. If she can get paid so much more money and money is so important to her, not the actual job, then I don't want to hold her back so she can go. So she did end up leaving.
She did?
Yeah, she did leave.
Yeah.
Which was fine. And then when she left, the place she went to, she quit very soon after that because she didn't like it, didn't like the environment, and sort of hints that she wanted to come back. But once I let someone go, I'll let them go.
Oh, look, okay, so a couple of things on there. We'll get to the final point because you haven't even got to the final point yet, Tyson.
Yeah, sorry.
The grass is always, there's that saying, the grass is always green on the other side.
Yes.
I like to say the grass is always greener over the septic tank, right? It looks nice, but there's more shit underneath there. So anyway, and then first class, I know what each role is worth to my business. I'm open and flexible when it comes to paying for valuable staff. In other words, you're willing to pay based on what people, the value they add. And it's a really cool conversation to be able to have with staff members. If you've got pay scales in place, hey boss, I'd like to earn more. Cool. Do you know what? Let me show you what you can do to get there. Or how much would you like to get paid? Oh, I'd like to get paid this. Perfect. What extra value are you going to bring to the business that I can happily pay you that? Very different conversation, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's the first one. We've had a massive chat about that one. So next one is job clarity. So first one is remuneration and pay and entitlements. Second one is job clarity. And, you know, the example that I look here around freight, I had fun writing the freight options. It's like, you should just know what to do. Like the name of the job is enough, right?
Yeah, you're a podiatrist. Yeah, you look at feet. You went to university, the same one I did.
Yeah,
you should know what's going on. Just there's the patient, work it out.
Yeah. So, you know, and so job clarity is so important because we're setting people up for success. And one of the articles I wrote, actually, it was a newsletter. I've rinsed and repeated it, and it's one of the highest open rates. It says, "Don't fire her just yet." Now, you can imagine not everybody that I send the email to are the business owners. Sometimes it might be the receptionist that gets the email. So they get
I like that.
But the purpose of it is I was working with a guy, and he's just started coaching him. And he said, "Sam, one of the first things we need to do is we need to get rid of my reception admin person." And I'd met her, and she was actually pretty cool. And I she was quite committed to the business. And I said, "I'm curious, for her to do a good job, what does she need to do?" And he went, "Sam, man, it's freaking easy. It's A, B, C, D, and E." I said, "You know what? I want to go and have a chat to your receptionist. I'll drop in over the next day or two and just have a chat to her." I said to her, "Hey, what do you want? You know, I'm curious, for you to do a good job, what is it that you need to achieve? Not do, what do you need to achieve?" She goes, "Oh, I don't know. I think it's E, F, G, H, and I." I said, "What happens if I told you it was A, B, C, D, E?" I just told her what he'd told me.
Yeah.
And she actually got a tear in her eye, and she went, "You know, I used to do that, but I thought he wanted me to do the other stuff. And I've known something's wrong, been wrong for a while, but I haven't been able to work out what it was." Anyway, next coaching session, he goes, "Dude, whatever you did, whatever you said to her, whatever you did, can we work that magic with the rest of my staff?" Sure, man. So job clarity is super important, because then we let people know how they can succeed in that position.
Yeah, well, I spoke about this on the 12-week podiatry business reboot just last night. We were doing week 5, and it was about treatment journeys for patients.
Yes.
And I'm saying the reason you have treatment journeys, or you document these, how you want a patient, when a patient comes in with this problem, this is how you want them treated. So there's a beginning and there's a start and a conclusion with every patient. I said, if you don't tell the podiatrist that works for you, this is how I want this problem treated, when they rock up, they could do whatever they want. And then later you get the shits with them because they're not treating them the way that you would treat them. But if you've never told them, if you haven't given them what your expectations are, how are they supposed to know? Because they may work with somebody else for a couple of years who had a completely different philosophy on treating a particular problem.
Absolutely.
And that's clarity.
Yeah, it is clarity. And you know what's really cool about doing a customer journey? I love doing a customer journey with my clients as well, is it sets expectations not only for your team member, but it sets expectations for your client or your patient. And so they're generally happy with the outcome, because that's the outcome you're going to get. You've set the expectations early.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win-win. It's a win for you, it's a win for your team, and it's a win for your client, which is great. So there we go. Next one, 3, is access to tools, software, materials, and equipment. Okay, the right tools, the right equipment, the right software, because depending on what your industry is, but again, if you've got old tools that don't work and it's hard work for people, it puts people off. And particularly as we get more and more advanced software, you know, if you're still using spreadsheets in your practice, they can work, but it's not scalable and it's not exciting. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, in certain cases. So I still think spreadsheets for certain things that I used to still do were still the great, especially when you're only dealing with a small group, a small amount of data. If you're looking at something huge, no, spreadsheets are just crazy to keep trying to use them.
Okay, as you know, right? I love spreadsheets.
You love spreadsheets. I've seen you get all sweaty over spreadsheets, yeah.
But with your staff, like you want to have it really easy that they can take patient notes, for example, they can access those super quickly. And then also that they've got the right equipment. They're not going, oh, hold on a second, I don't have that tool. I've got to go next door and borrow from somebody else. Yeah. You want to make sure they've got everything so that they can do their job well.
And also, it's not just the equipment, because sometimes some equipment is quite expensive, so you do have to share it around. But sometimes it's just some things are cheap and they still don't have it there, or they, instead of having a certain amount of stock, they're constantly running out of things and it has to get reordered before they can actually apply it to the patient. Oh, sorry, we have no more strapping tape. We're waiting for the next order. Just simple day-to-day things that they don't plan ahead because the boss is tight.
So Andrew and I did work with a company out on the Tablelands, and initially I had the initial call with them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like super toxic environment. This, like, there's got to be a really big problem here. And there were a couple of small problems, but most probably the biggest instigator was they had 2 pricing guns. So it was a supermarket. Only one of them worked reliably. So what the staff would do is they'd either get into work early and hog it and not give it to anybody else, or they would hide it so when they got to work they could find it, which meant nobody else could do their job. And we discovered this just through doing some surveys with the staff. When we told the owner, he was like, man, if I had known. So he went out and bought 3 pricing guns.
Yeah.
I reckon that solved 90% of their internal fighting and bickering and politics.
Yeah, and I've seen that happen in other businesses where there's a certain piece of equipment. It could be a pair of scissors that's super sharp. Like my own. I used to tell everyone, buy your own friggin' scissors, because that way you look after them. And I bought a pair 20-something years ago. It cost me $110 back then. I actually have them right in front of me here.
Don't stand yourself.
Right here. See, that's my scissors. I still have them with me, and they are just champion scissors. So I'd tell everyone, go, but some of them would go and buy some $5 scissors, and they'd be bitching and complaining that the hands were sore, or they'd be trying to nick mine. And again, that's why you need to buy good ones. But I reckon those same people, if they set up their own business because they were tight, would try and give all their team just cheap scissors.
And that creates problems. And so sometimes though, you can get around that poverty mindset as well, is by having, when you want to give your staff bonuses or incentives, you're actually giving them money towards upgrading their equipment. So like, I'm going to assume, I don't coach any hairdressers, but let's say a hairdresser, right? Hairdresser, tradie, but like their scissors are the tool of their trade, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
So go and invest in the best. So cool. All right. Next one is the workplace environment.
Yes.
What we said here is employees like to feel good about where they go to work, but it's an area that many employers take for granted. You did this really well, Tyson, in yours. Like when you walked in, it was light, it was friendly, it was, I don't want to use the word playful, but it was, what's the word?
It was colorful.
Yes, but it was an element of fun. It was a cool place to go to work, right? Where my office is at Helping Partners, like people see downstairs and go, wow, that's amazing. I go, well, if you come upstairs, you'll see exactly the same. Nice light offices. It's a really good work environment. So,
and that's what you want. You walk into some podiatry businesses and you open up the front door and you walk in, you go, I'm depressed. As soon as you look at it's got old carpet, there's furniture that should have been replaced ages ago. The walls need to be painted or at least wiped out. It's just it's not a nice environment. And then they wonder when someone, oh, I can't find anyone to work with me, because they're depressed as soon as they walk through the door.
Yeah.
Whereas I've seen some, I think a lot of the younger podiatrists coming through now understand street appeal and making something that's more pleasing to the eye. I don't think they're as tight.
Yeah. Look, and again, you want to appeal to sort of the 5 senses, right? One that people often forget about is smell. And smell is so powerful. Now, you can't have this overwhelming smell, but does it smell nice to be there, you know? funny enough, I've just come back from cycling up to Cape York, up to the tip. And we were cycling through the outback, up the Telegraph Road, track. It's not a road. It's not a road, track. And there was a light bit of rain. It was just on a little bit of grass. And the smell came, and I could smell it. It was like, brought me back to childhood memories straight away when I was riding my pony when I was like 7 or 8 years old. So smell is an incredibly powerful tool that can be used really well as well. So
definitely. So got to ask a question about your bike riding just for a sec, just a bit of a side note.
Yep.
How many times did you fall off? Because you're renowned for breaking body parts whenever you go on a bike ride.
Only twice.
Only twice?
And they weren't hard falls. I say reaching for my collarbone, which I broke on the last hard fall. Actually, no, I've got scars everywhere, man. That was on New Year's Day. No, this one was good. I went over the handlebars once, following somebody through a puddle.
Yeah.
And it didn't look that deep, but he obviously he found the highest part because I went in and just buried the nose of my bike.
I was going to say you never come away unscathed. So anyway, back on
track. Okay, so we've gone through remuneration. Number 2 is job clarity. Number 3 is access to tools, software, materials, and equipment. Number 4 is the workplace environment. Number 5 is communication. And really good communication practices within a workplace can have a massive competitive advantage. And simple things like regular team meetings, people knowing how they're doing. Gossip thrives when there's a lack of communication. If you've got gossip within your organization, that is a symptom. The problem is there isn't good communication.
Okay. And does that happen a lot when some podiatrists, for example, may have a business, great business, chug along really well, and then as they're starting to employ more people, the owner of the business starts stepping away until the owner of the business is almost abdicated, that just sits back and wants to drink lattes, and while the business is running, but the communication from the boss is no longer there. It's just disappeared.
And that actually leads straight to the next point, which is management and leadership, right?
Yeah.
You've got to have that. Like sometimes, and particularly smaller businesses, you want to have a relatively flat structure. If the owner gets too far removed, then they need a really competent manager in place. So it's around delegation, not abdication.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, just for communication, right? Like a couple of examples here. Freight, figure it out for yourself. Economy, weekly 1-hour team meetings where I mostly do all the talking. Premium, regular in-person meetings that are planned and documented. I encourage people to raise ideas and concerns. Business class, we have different communication for different issues. For example, we have short meetings to give instructions and longer meetings to collaborate on new initiatives. We put response time around our requests. First class, we use a mix of one-on-one group forums to communicate. We actively manage information sharing, including online comms. We're receptive and inclusive. In other words, everybody knows what's going on. And there's no point in having a meeting for the sake of a meeting. Every meeting has to have an agenda and a purpose.
Yeah.
And also decide who's going to be there. There's nothing worse than being in a meeting where a whole lot of stuff is spoken about that is not relevant in any shape or form to you.
Oh, definitely. And there was something that came up recently when I've been talking to people and they said, the hardest thing about having a group meeting is because we have staff rostered at different times, not everybody can be at work, or it's unfair that someone has to drive all the way in for this particular meeting. I said, well, use Zoom.
Correct.
So how hard is it just to have them Zoom in for a meeting for 15 minutes? They don't have to be long. A meeting is not an hour. It can just be get the point over and done with, just so everyone's up to speed and then move on. So even if it's their day off, to click in for 15 minutes is not unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable. It can be recorded sometimes. So I've got a business owner at the moment. For family reasons, she's actually away from the business, and all she's doing is once a day, she's shooting a short video, which is just giving a quick update so everybody knows what's going on. And then her managers have stepped up and she's still having the meetings. I find if I go into a business, and again, who said that a meeting needs to be an hour? It's
I don't know.
And if your meetings are taking too long, take all the chairs out of the room. Make it a standing meeting. Meetings happen a lot quicker. And Also, a meeting must start on time.
Yeah.
And must finish on time. So if stuff comes up that's outside of the agenda, the relevant people agree to meet at another time, whatever. Do not just, we're just going to have a little chit chat. There needs to be an agenda and a structure so that when you leave that meeting, it's very clear around who is going to do what by when.
Yeah, definitely.
Simple meeting minutes. The next one is management and leadership. And so this is really where people want to work for successful, charismatic, and effective leaders who are doing great things. So what I talk about here is we really want to be future focused. Okay, like let people know what's coming on, let people be excited, have drive moving forward, because otherwise people get lost.
Yeah.
So that's
and people want to feel they're not just working somewhere where they're going to start there. It doesn't matter how long they're there. It's just going to end at some stage. They want to know that they're part of a journey that's moving forward, that this business is going to be somewhere in so many years' time, and they want to be part of that journey. So you got to just bring them along with you.
And often getting business owners to share their vision for the business is so powerful, because people turn around and go, it's like having a bus, right? And you're getting people on the bus, but going, this is where the bus is going. Who wants to get on the bus?
Yeah.
And people turn around and go, hell, man, the bus is going there. I'm on. Let's go. And so then it creates momentum. It creates camaraderie. So many things happen. And also as leaders and managers, we need to be, which is what you said earlier, be involved in if you're going to be involved in your business, be involved in your business. Not as in have to be there all the time, but know your people. Be a shining light. Don't be the person that comes around there and whips everybody every now and again.
And the vision,
those days are over.
I know, damn it. But even the vision though is also different. Your vision for the business is different to your personal goals. So you buying a Mercedes Benz or you buying a holiday house down at the beach does not motivate your team. What motivates your team is where is your business going and who is it going to help in the future? What type of work are you going to be doing? They'll get excited about that, but they're not going to get excited about your next car.
No. And so what you're talking about there as well is often this is the vision for the business, this is the mission, this is how we're going to do it. But then also get clear around what your values are.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool recruitment strategy as well, because people will either look at your values and go, wanker. Well, they're not a good fit, right?
Yeah.
Move on. Whereas other people turn around and go, wow, that's really cool. I really appreciate that. And they come in as well. So as a leader, you want to set that stuff up.
Yep.
Next one is onboarding. Oh man, I am a big fan of this. Is how you onboard your staff will determine how quickly they get up to speed and become a profitable member for you, but also whether they're going to stay. If you onboard your staff correctly, there's some crazy statistic around it, but if you onboard your staff correctly, they're like 3 times more likely to stay. So what does that look like? I don't know if you've ever been to a job or maybe Tyson, you've employed somebody, you're so excited to have this person that you just give them all this information and they're so excited to be working for you. They're going, yep, I've got it. Yep. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to drink from a fire hydrant, right? And I don't care how thirsty you are, only a little bit of that water is going to go in your mouth. So what we do is we turn around and we say, let's put in place an induction plan. And an induction plan is really simple. What do you need to know by the end of your first week?
Yeah.
Your second week, your third week, your fourth week, your second month, your third month, right? What that does is it forces you to prioritize what information you're going to give them and in what order. But by slowing down and going through it in more detail with them, they're far more likely to remember it, apply it, become effective and efficient in what you want them to do.
Yeah, we had two plans. We had a 20-day training plan for a new receptionist. So when they started, this is what we wanted to know on the first day. What was important? If they could do this and this on the first day, if that's all they could do, that took the pressure off of everybody else. And then the next day they'd learn the next task. So at the end of 20 days of working, they were pretty much 90% up to speed to what everybody else was doing. Podiatrists, we did the same thing. First 2 weeks they were there, rarely did they get let loose on any patients. We haven't just worked with everybody, just learn how the systems work. But at the end of 3 months, we would step it through that normally I could take a new graduate, and at the end of 3 months, I could have them performing the same as someone that had been with me for 5 years, and did it time after time after time. And I just sit back and going, geez, I'm good.
But that's a system, right?
It was just the system. It wasn't me. It was just the system we had worked out to get the most out of them as fast as possible. Because it was you that actually, I'm pretty sure it was at your workshop, where you said that if most people only stay with you for 2 years and you wait 12 months before you make them productive,
yeah,
you've only got 12 months of productivity out of them after that. But if you can get them really productive after, say, 3 months, then you've got, like
yeah,
1 year and 9 months use. You get an extra 9 months of productivity.
Spot on. The quicker you can get them up to speed. And also what's important as part of that induction as well is, simple things like, where do you park? Where's the toilet? Where do we go for lunch? This, who's your team? Get to know them, get to spend a bit of time with them. And so you build this community and you upskill them as well. And then, part of your induction would be, hey, this is our customer journey. This is how we do things around here. Am I right? Is that what?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it'd be like, if this problem happens here, this is who you talk to, you get it fixed. If this happens, this is who you talk to. And so, it was, and that's why I always thought that any person that ever worked for us, I wanted them to leave. If they ended up working somewhere else, whoever took them on would go, wow, I will take anybody that comes from that particular business, which my old podiatry clinic, 3 of the podiatrists from my old clinic now work for somebody else. So I assume he's very happy with the training that we gave them.
I think I know who that is.
I think you do.
A recruitment strategy is sometimes where do the best staff come from? Are they happy where they are, right?
Oh, I tell you, it's a smart thing to do. If I always tell people that always be in recruitment mode. Yeah. If you meet a podiatrist who you think is fantastic and you know where they work, you're thinking, are they happy there?
And go back to sales, right? People buy from people they know, like, trust, and trust.
Yes.
Right? So if you meet someone and you really like them, they might not be ready to move on, but there's nothing wrong in developing a good working relationship.
Oh, definitely.
Them, and if you see something of interest, or reach out to them, hey, did you see this? Just keeping that out there, because often recruitment comes from, you put the word out there and say, hey, don't know if you're looking or if you know anybody else is looking. We are looking for a new podiatrist. We're looking for this person. So if you know anybody, or if you might be interested, let me know. Sometimes you just go, hey, if you know of anybody, and inside your mind you're going, you.
Yeah.
But if you know of anybody, we're looking at recruiting. They're either going to give you a good rap, good for your brand, your employer value, your employer value, or they might turn around and go, you know what? I've been thinking about it for a while. I'd actually love to come and work for you. Now, this ties into our next point.
Well, before you go, there was a receptionist that used to work at a physiotherapy clinic, and she'd have 4 or 5 physios running around, and one person, she'd control them all. And I'd sit back and just watch her. And every time I was there, I'd say, hey, whenever you're ready to leave and work at a fun environment, just let me know. She go, oh, no, I'm happy here. Go, okay. Every time I was there, just remember, whenever you're ready to leave, she go, yes, Tyson, I know. It was probably 3 years later. We had a job applying and she phoned up and said, I'm ready to leave.
Boom.
And bang, we already didn't worry about interviewing anyone. She was automatically just had the job.
Yeah. And so there's that approach. And maybe some people listening to the podcast go, I don't want to do that, right? First of all, don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay. Yeah. Or you're in the game. It's a game, right? This is a game that we're playing.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can turn around and go, hey, they're really interested in horse riding. You find that out. And every now and again, you just stay in touch with them and go, hey, did you see this? Boom, boom, boom. Being interested and connected with people means you stay top of mind.
Oh, definitely.
So cool. All right. So onboarding, which ties into coaching, mentoring, and training.
Yeah.
I've just helped one of my clients. She runs a pharmacy. She's got 2 pharmacies. And the way we got this pharmacist across the line was he wanted to do more personal development, coaching, and mentoring. That was like when we said to him, hey, this is available. You're going to have these opportunities, whatever the case is. He was like, I'm there. It was important to him.
Yeah.
Right. I'm looking for some funny ones around freight or whatever the case is. So then the next one here is cultural fit. And we had a bit of a conversation around that as well, is do they fit into our culture? And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people leave. So early on in the recruitment process, defining every business has a culture.
Yeah.
If you can define what their culture is and set it as a leader. So one of the things we do is in a business, we'll try and identify between 6 and 12. I think 12 is a bit much, but key values that we stand for. Is it integrity? Is it communication, teamwork? Now, defining what those look like, and then every week focusing on one of them. So we go, hey, the focus this week, team meeting, is around teamwork. And we'll read out what they've defined as teamwork. And go on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you reckon we did, guys? And it'll normally be a vote around like, oh, it was a 7 or an 8. Oh, why?
Yeah.
Oh, because this happened and this happened, positive or negative. Okay, cool, good point. We make a note of it. What do you reckon we need to do? Let's say it was a 7. What do you think we need to do to bring it up to an 8? Oh, to bring it up to an 8, we could really focus on that. Okay, that's our focus for this week. Now, let's just say you've got 6 values and you have a weekly meeting. You're going to go through those 8 times in a year.
Yeah.
And you know you've done your values well when you hear your team start talking about it.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so, because some people go, oh, these are our values. And then everyone goes, oh, that's nice. And they sign it and it gets put away in a folder
no one looks at it
and never, ever seen again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So having that, and then that becomes part of your culture. Again, go back to Kevin. As soon as, like even on the phone, we went, this guy is going to fit in so well in our organization. Right? There's other people, you can just go, oh, it's a bit like oil and water. It's just not quite going to work.
Yeah, I remember we were looking for a receptionist once, and this lady came in, well dressed, polite when she first walked in. She sat down. Conversation, we were just only talking for a couple minutes. Everything was really good, and all of a sudden she abruptly said, "Oh, I just want to point out, I'm a lesbian. I hope you don't have a problem with that." And I went, "That's really odd that you would just throw that in the middle." And I went, "No, you seem to have a problem with it though." "Oh no, it's just where I've worked before. There was a problem with it." And I went, "Oh, okay." Straight away, line through her name. Wasn't because she was a lesbian. It was her attitude of whatever had happened in the past. She was bringing that into the workplace. And I just went, I don't know what's happened in the past, but yeah, I just didn't think it needed to be there now. It was sort of off-putting, but when you just get that gut feel, you go, I think we're going to clash. I don't know.
There's going to be a problem. And it's not because of what they brought up. It's just because of it's a really good question to ask in interviews, job interviews. And so I suppose this is the next stage. You build your brand as an employer, then you attract talent, and now you've got to be able to interview them. But a nice, simple question at the end of the interview, and you just sort of slide it in and you just go, is there anything else you think we should know? And you cannot believe the stuff.
What people ask.
Well, no, what people will tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Actually, my boyfriend and I, we're looking at traveling around the world next year. We're
swingers.
Thanks for letting us know. And like the stuff comes out where it's just a super innocent question, but you're looking for those little red flags, because whether a person's gay or not,
it's irrelevant.
Care.
Yeah.
As long as they don't care, right? It's the same thing. So they'll bring up stuff like that and you can go, is this going to be an issue or not?
Well, see, what I wasn't sure about was Was it my personality that where she worked before was the other person, my personality, and she felt it needed to be brought up?
Yeah.
Or has she just been given crap about it in the past? And so she always just brought it up. But it was, I thought it was a strange comment, but it wasn't so much what was said, it was how it was said. And I think sometimes when you're talking to people, as soon as if your gut is telling you something's just not right, then I think you got to listen to your gut when it's telling you it's not right. Don't listen to your gut when it says it's right, though, because it lies to you.
Well, look, I mean, again, there's evidence, like, you want to back it up with evidence, but there's that saying, hire slow, fire fast. And I don't really agree with that 100%. What I think about that is, if you make a decision to recruit, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be ready that when that right person comes through the door, you're ready to hire them, because talent does not remain in the market long.
No.
You've got to have everything lined up, ready to go, be really crystal clear around who this person's going to be or what this person's going to be. And when you get the right person, you can bring them on board straight away. But if things aren't panning out in the first week or two, right, find out why, which is where your induction plan comes in, and cut it short. And this is the pot calling the kettle black, man. Oh, it must be about 6 or 7 years ago. I'm not going to mention her name. She interviewed okay on the phone. It was Zoom, and she came up from Sydney.
Yeah.
Okay, right. As soon as she walked into my office, I knew I'd made a mistake. I knew. And I sort of went, no, man, she's come all the way from Sydney. I've got to do the right thing. End of week 1, end of week 2. Week 3, it got to a point where I didn't want to go to the office. And my wife's like, dude, you know what you have to do. And I'm like, I know. Anyway, went in and said, look, this is not working. And she agreed 110%. And I was like, man, let's just work it out. Let's part ways. This is not working. And you know what? I should have done it on day. It was hot. Should I have done it on day 1? Most probably with hindsight. But at least.
Yeah. But they always say, but don't they say that when you let somebody go, sometimes you're doing the best thing for you and you're doing the best thing for them. You're helping them go and find a job that's a better fit.
Yeah, like, I don't know, maybe Lotus Glen or something.
What's your thinking on this comment when, and this is what I've heard before, and I've actually mentioned this to other people and they've usually gone, they've agreed, but you're an expert in this area and I'm not. is I usually say, you can't expect someone that you're paying $35 an hour to think the same as someone who makes $250 an hour. So as the business owner, you may be making, you've got staff there, $250, you could be making $400 an hour, depending on how busy your business is.
Yeah.
You can't expect the front receptionist, who might be on $40 an hour, to have the same thinking as you. It's a different level. It's a different level of thinking.
It is a different level of thinking. Yeah. And again, like, if we went back to a really simple model, as a technician, a manager, and an entrepreneur or owner, like, there are different levels of thinking. And if they were thinking at that level, there's a good chance that they'd be running a similar business.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by it. So sometimes you may have somebody working for you and it may be frustrating you certain things they're doing, but just realize they're not the business owner. Nobody is going to think the same as the business owner in all aspects. It's rare for someone to be. My wife is like that. My wife could work for somebody else. She used to work in a travel agency. She'd be there before everybody else. She would be there after the boss left. She's just one of those people that doesn't matter where she worked, she would work as hard as the business owner. But eventually she worked with me and we had our own business. So it was just in her to be that way.
I tell you what, who normally are good recruits, people are often nervous about it, but people that have had their own business and then chosen not to, or they've chosen not to do it,
yeah.
or their business hasn't worked, I generally find they are great employees, great, because they understand the intricacies of actually running a business, the value of getting the work, doing the work, keeping the cash.
Oh, definitely.
And sometimes employees think they understand, but they don't. They haven't had their house on the line, or they haven't signed a rental agreement for 5 years. You know, you want to scare yourself, right? You want to scare yourself. Take your rental agreement, work out what it is you're paying per week, work it out per year, and then times it by 5. When you sign that your little signature on those little pages, you've just made, you know, a $300,000 commitment.
Mm.
You know, there are little ways of minimizing there, but at the end of the day, you've put your money where your mouth is. There's money on the line. And sometimes, not all staff, sometimes staff see customers or patients as an inconvenience. Like, this would be a fantastic job if there were no patients, but like, you wouldn't have a job, right?
Yeah.
So it's the value of getting and coming back. Anyway, we digress.
So I'm just looking at the time. We've got to get a giddy up.
Okay, let's go.
Yes.
Okay, number 10 is work-life balance and flexibility. A lot of people will rather take a lower paying job that is flexible and can work for their lifestyle than a heavily regimented job. Yeah. And sometimes people turn around and go, well, we can't do that for everybody. And I often say this: if you could have a super, super talented person, but you could only have them for 3 days a week, would you take them? You go, well, I need them for 5. I go, right, but right now you've got nobody, right? Would you rather have a really good person 3 days a week? Yeah, but if I give them 3 days a week, then I'm going to give everybody else 3 days a week or whatever. No, you don't, right? But if you start to become more flexible, you become more appealing, which then gives you more options. So sometimes being a little bit flexible, and it can be as simple as, I saw somebody lose a top employee, right?
Yeah.
Because he wanted to finish work on Thursdays at 3:30. They didn't ask why. He didn't say why. And they said, no. And he went, in that case, I resign. And they went, why? He goes, because I want to watch my son and footy train.
Yeah.
He went and worked somewhere else. He was so pissed off. But to him, being able to watch his son doing footy training, that was his reason why he was working, why he'd come up here, those cases. So being a bit flexible is definitely going to help. And then the final one is other benefits. Okay, so job perks like catering, car parking. Not really relevant for us here in Cairns, but let me tell you, when you're in the big metropolitan areas, where your staff are parking, how much that costs them, the inconvenience in terms of time and money, surprising. Like, you and I go, car parking, not a problem. For some people, it's a big thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially if you're in an area where you can't get a park, so therefore you have to catch a train, which means it's the whole thing, go to the train station, it's the slow train in, it's getting out, it's walking to, or catching a bus. If you're having to use public transport, it's just one extra obstacle.
Yeah, spot on. So that's where we look at other benefits. We've got stuff here like, toil, core business hours around school hours, professional development, company paid mobile phones, extra annual leave, discounted gym memberships, flu vaccinations, flexible working hours, birthday off. When it's your birthday, you get the day off. Whatever the case is, if looking for those little extra perks. So again, I mentioned helping partners. Man, like, they do some really cool stuff for their staff, right? How's this one? Front door is locked from 1 until 2. No meetings are booked. They've got a big catering area. Staff bring their own food, but there's an hour where everybody's downstairs having a little bit of a chit chat. 10:45, there's tea put on. So you can say, hey, I'd like a cup of tea or coffee. You come down, there's a couple of snacks. It just makes work really cool.
Yeah.
We do 2 annual retreats. The Christmas one, staff bring their kids and their partners. Darren and Noel get little presents for each of the kids. It's amazing. Now, that's over and beyond, but it's stuff that people turn around and go, hey, this is a family-orientated business, not a family business, family-orientated business. We do our best to include your family. Darren and Noel know the kids by name. They really make an effort. It's super cool.
How many people work in there? Because it's a big office.
Oh, yeah. So I reckon now just recruited some new staff. So I reckon they must have, Darren Noel must have 20 staff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the Christmas, it might even be a bit more, but Christmas function's great. And sorry, just going on a bit, but other cool things they do is they're actively involved in the community. So people can put up their hands. We do barbecues for Rosies. They support the local football games, really actively involved, which then gives people that work there an opportunity to get involved as well, which then gives them meaning and purpose. So that's what we'd call under other benefits.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a lot of, and I say to people, you'd be surprised all the little things you do for your team that you don't tell them that you do.
yes.
That you don't even realize that you do. And sometimes you need to just remind them that you do these things, just the little things. We used to, at least once a month, we'd go and buy like a carton of wine and just put it on the reception counter on a Friday afternoon. And we'd tell everyone, just grab a bottle of wine on your way out.
Wow.
For no reason, just, hey, we've had a great week. So, and what was funny, I could give somebody a $20 a week pay rise, which would cost me $1,000 for the year.
Yeah.
And they might say thank you the first week. I can put a $20 bottle of wine on the reception counter once a month. And next thing, they're taking photos on Facebook saying how awesome their boss is. And it cost me $20.
Really, I've got a term for that. And I like to encourage my clients to do it. And that's called a bump. So a bump is an unexpected bonus, but you factor it in. So they don't know, but you turn around and say, I'm going to factor in an extra $1,000 a year for a bump.
Yeah.
And a bump is unexpected because if something is expected, it becomes the norm and it loses its value. Have I got time for one quick story?
Go for it. Is this a turkey story?
A turkey story.
I've got a turkey story about the bump. But anyway, you go for
it. So the way this worked was my old business back in South Africa, I had a business partner, Ian, and we were just having record month after record month. And he went, Sam, staff have worked really hard. Let's just shout fast food on Friday. Let's just go get fast food for everybody. We'll quickly put an order around and everything. So we've got burgers and Cokes for everybody. And they were like, wow, this is awesome. You're the best bosses. We love you, blah, 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 blah. So Ian turned around to me and said, you know what, Sam, I reckon they were so grateful we should do it every Friday. I said, I don't know. He goes, Sam, you're such a tight ass. You know. Anyway, so I said, okay, well, let's do it. Anyway, about 4 weeks later, I walk into the office. We don't have burgers now. We've got burgers. Wayne's got a burger. So-and-so's got a pizza. I'm going like, it's not a can of Coke. It's a 2-liter Coke, or it's 2 Cokes and 2 burgers. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I know Jill's gone out and driven to like 4 different places. And I just went, no, you guys are taking the mickey. So I said to Ian, Ian, that's it. Gone. You abuse it, you lose it. And Ian goes, no, Sam, you're too hard, man. He goes, why don't we just put a limit on it? So like, let's just say it's $12 or $15 limit, and it has to be 1 store. So I said, okay, whatever, do it, right? So he does it. Unbeknown to, we had 2 smokers who used to go outside to the office to smoke, but my window was open and I hear them bitching money. Can you believe how tight Ian and Sam are that they only give us $15 for lunch? Like, they're making so much money. I'm like, how did we get here? Like week 1, we're the heroes and we do a burger and a Coke. You guys pull the ring out of it. We cap it. And now we're the bad guys.
Yeah.
And so having a consistent thing that's predictable loses its value. But if you turn around and you say, I've allocated this, and I'll give you an example. Carla, who used to work for me, we had she organized an event for me, man. It was outstanding. So got her a Myers card, and she went and bought herself a turquoise blue handbag. 3 years later, Carla goes, that's the bag you bought for me. I'm like, I didn't buy you that bag. She goes,
it has meaning. Well, I'll tell you the turkey story.
Turkey story.
Yeah. So there's a guy had
to do Christmas.
So it was around Christmas. Yeah. So there's this factory. So this is how the story goes. There's a factory, and they had a really, really good year. So the boss, there's like 100 people that work in this factory. He went and bought everybody this really massive turkey, a really expensive turkey, gave everybody in the factory this turkey. So anyway, every Christmas for the next so many years, he just kept giving everybody a turkey at Christmas because they had really good years. Anyways, one particular year, they had a terrible year. They just did not have a good year. Profits were down. So he didn't buy them a turkey because he got them the turkey because they were having good years. The year they had a bad year, he didn't get anyone a turkey. Everyone's gone, where's my turkey? He's going, what do you mean? Well, you buy us a turkey every Christmas. He said, no, I get you a turkey when we have a good year. We didn't have a good year. We get a turkey every Christmas. They went out on strike.
Yeah.
So they went on strike because they didn't get the turkey, and then they didn't come back, and it was costing him a certain amount of money for the factory not to be open. And he was really, really wealthy. So he ended up just closing the factory.
Oh, wow.
So he closed the factory because they wouldn't go back to work over a bloody turkey. And he just went, you know what? I don't even really need to be doing this anymore. I'm old. I've made my money. He just closed the factory. 100 people out of work, all over the consistency of a turkey. Now, he could have just gone, oh, stuff you, here's your turkey. But it wasn't, they never understand. The turkey was a reward for a good year. It wasn't just a given. So I love that idea about just doing bumps. Just
a bump. And
budget
people
in
remember
bumps.
the bumps. You know, and it's unexpected. So it's not around birthday, it's not around Christmas. It's when somebody does what we call a wow moment. What's a wow moment? When somebody turns around and goes, wow, it's an unexpected thing, or they've gone the extra mile, and you give them recognition and reward. I find it so much more powerful than just going, oh, I'll give you a pay rise, an extra $2 or $3 an hour. It's gone.
Yeah. The only thing I probably did that was predictable is every time I went overseas, I always brought my staff back something really small that was only about $5 each.
But that's fun, right? Like at $5, so not $50 or $500.
No, it was just, they were bottle openers and little shot glasses with boobs on there that I got from the UK, and just funny things like that. But they just expected that when I got back, we'd have our first clinic meeting when I got back, and they all knew they were going to get something, and they all actually looked forward to it. The people who were new at work were unaware of this, and when they got it the first time, they went, hey, every time he goes away. So they actually, when I would tell them I'm going away somewhere, they would sort of go, oh, great, it means we're going to get something.
Yeah. But again, small,
very small
fun, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to do a quick recap, Tyson?
Yeah, do a quick recap, and then we better wrap up because this will be a record long. I mean, when we got on here, I said, hey, we're probably going to keep this fairly short. Nah. That's all right.
A long form. Okay, so here we go.
Yes.
Okay, so there's 11 value points to convey when you're looking at employing and retaining talent. So the first one is remuneration. Second one is job clarity. Third one is access to tools, software, materials, and equipment, making sure they've got the right equipment.
Yep.
Fourth is the workplace environment. Is it a cool place to work? Is it a good place for people to work? 5 is communication. Does everybody know what's going on and are they informed? 6, your management and leadership style. 7, how you onboard your staff and set them up for success. 8, coaching, mentoring, and training. So there's personal growth, development, and progression. 9, cultural fit. 10, work-life balance and flexibility. And 11, other benefits.
That is a great roundup. So, Sam, I want to thank you for coming on the Podiatry Legends podcast, sharing your wisdom. And anyone who's listening to this, if you've got any friends that are tradies, doesn't matter where they are in the world, if they are a tradie of some sort, point them into Sam's direction. Sam is an expert when it comes to doing business coaching and development for people who are in the trade industry. And there's all types of trades as well. So, Sam, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tyson, for having me. Always.
How can they reach out to you? How can they reach out to you? If somebody wants to get hold of you, what's the best way of getting hold of you?
Best way is probably through my website, so businessmaximisercoaching.com.au. Otherwise, you're welcome to send me an email, sam@samharrop.com.au.
Okay, I'll put all the details in the show notes. So, Sam, thank you very much.
Tyson, thanks for having me.